To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's happening? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for Laid to Rest. Written and directed by Robert Hall, Laid to Rest stars all of these lot. A young girl wakes up in a casket with a head injury and no memory of her identity. She quickly realizes she was abducted by a serial killer and she must fight to survive. The other day I was thinking about how much I wish I could have been an American teenager in the 80s. You lot got to enjoy the slasher movie golden age, being introduced to a new icon on an almost weekly basis. Since then we have been introduced to a few additional teenager slayers, with the most recent success story being that of Art the Clown. Laid to Rest came out in 2009, and I remember around that time the killer's shiny mush being plastered across every horror movie website I could find. It looked like CHROMESKULL would join Freddy, Jason, Michael and all the others in the Horror Hall of Fame, but then the sequel came out and suddenly nothing. Now this might be a surprise to all of you lot, but even with all the hype surrounding it, I never actually saw Laid to Rest when it came out, or the sequel CHROMESKULL, so I thought it was time to fix that. An honest to goodness slasher movie with extreme violence. What more could you want? But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. That's it. Want to see the video uncut? Go there. And if you ain't got the $2 but still like the content, click subscribe. Or don't. But anyway, I'm in the mood for some indie slasher mayhem, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to see a villain forget how to use a fridge door. This is Laid to Rest. The movie begins with opening credits featuring footage of various women meeting their untimely end at the hands of the killer CHROMESKULL. He gets his stuff together and this girl gets opened up when we cut to this woman's eye. Here we meet the character only known as the girl as she wakes up in a coffin. As we cut outside, we see the graveyard manager played by Mickey Rourke hearing the banging and deciding to get the out of there. Which would 1000% be my move as well. If you're the type to want to go and check a strange noise, don't try and be my friend. You're getting dropped like a hot stone at the first opportunity, mate. The girl manages to knock the coffin over, free herself and crawl to the locked exit. She finds a phone and calls the police, but when they ask what's wrong, she becomes confused.
Give me your location.
I don't know. I need help. I need help.
I would love it if the truth of the situation was she was just super f***ed up the night before and woke up in a random place. It's not amnesia, love, you're just hungover. Nice sugary cup of tea and you'll be right as rain. The cops start tracing the call as the girl notices a dead body in the room and heads towards it, pulling out the phone cord. She then pulls back the sheet, revealing your mum. The girl gets freaked out by your mum's chest scars and quickly checks her own chest, then the door window where she spots CHROMESKULL himself. I didn't notice this on the first viewing, but that's not a very exciting way to introduce your villain, is it? No epic face reveal or anything, he's just sort of there. Kind of underwhelming. Eventually, he buggers off and the girl is joined by Mickey Rourke. He says he's gonna get her out of there, but CHROMESKULL appears and instead stabs the man in the back, attaching him to the door.
He's there.
For a low-budget slasher like this, Mickey Rourke is a big get. I know he only would have been on set for one night, but it's kind of amazing he agreed to do it. The girl then kicks open the door as CHROMESKULL leans down, hitting him in the eye with the protruding metal. She makes it out of the funeral home and takes off as we get our title card. Cut to the girl walking in the street when this car pulls up. The driver, Tucker, gets out and offers help before noticing the girl's bloody bare feet. New fetish unlocked. Cut to the pair driving as we find out the girl can't remember her name, where she's from, or how to say certain words like coffin or cemetery.
Where you come from? I mean, just now, where'd you come from?
Where the dead people are.
One thing that always gets me is selective amnesia in media. If you've forgotten who you are and where you're from, how come you haven't forgotten how to walk or talk? Or that you're not supposed to eat your own You wouldn't even know what is. You just fill your pants, pull some out, and pop it in your mouth instinctively. I'm not a fan of the smell or taste, but that consistency. It's like a Cadbury's cream egg that's died. She asks to go to the police, but Tucker says they're about 100 miles away from the nearest station, which seems far. He tells her to tell him her story, and she does. Woke up in dead box, bad man after me. Tucker then says Cindy will know what to do.
We don't even know her. She's probably one of them crystal meth tweakers.
Lower your voice.
I will not lower my voice.
Oh my God.
Come on. She's pretty and all, but I don't think...
Oh, she's pretty, is she?
Oh my God, it's Lena Headey, the woman of my dreams. She's so posh, I bet when she opens her legs, her vagina whispers, "Indeed." Cindy isn't a fan of this situation, but Tucker eventually convinces her to go talk to the girl and try and see what happened. In the living room, the girl asks for water and says she doesn't know who she is or where she came from and that there's a man trying to hurt her. Tucker brings back the water and the girl says she wants to go to the cops, but Cindy says they can't as Tucker run the truck out of gas and their phone got cut off 2 months ago. I don't know about you, but I'm detecting some real Texas Chainsaw vibes here. Are we gonna get to see a psycho Lena Headey eat the girl out? First that way, then the other way. Or vice versa. I'm not really bothered about the order. She says her brother will be there in the morning with his truck, but the girl obviously isn't a fan. After some reassurances from Cindy and the promise of a cooked breakfast, the girl chills out and we cut to CHROMESKULL injecting himself in the eye with whatever this is. He rewinds the footage, stopping on Tucker's car, and we cut to the girl in the shower. Ah, sweet. Okay, movie. Let's see him then. Cindy and Tucker chat about how they're doing the Christian thing, and it starts to seem like, unfortunately, they're not going to eat the girl. Tucker notices blood from the girl's head wound when in the shower she starts screaming.
Hey, baby girl.
Cindy tells the girl it's all going to be okay, and we cut to Tucker watching his missus sleep right next to an open window. He next checks on the girl, taking a look at her head wound before telling her they're gonna go to the cops in the morning and see if she's a missing person. He then says they'll have to give her a name for now and tells the girl to remember something from when she was little. She remembers her doll Princess Gemstone, and so they settle on Princess, and he tells her to get some rest. When he tries to go back to the bedroom, however, he finds the door locked and upon breaking it down discovers Cindy in quite the situation.
Honey! Oh God, Jesus, honey, no.
Tucker runs out front asking Chromeface what he wants, and the killer points to the girl. Tucker tells Chromeface to kill him instead, but unfortunately the masked maniac stabs Cindy right through her head. Lena! No!
He's gonna kill us both. No, don't look. No.
She is very, very dead, and that knife leaves a massive hole behind. Tell you what, Lena, next time I say I'm gonna f one of your holes, if you could correctly identify which hole I plan to f, I won't finish inside. Deal? Deal? Lena! Lena, I'm talking to you! CHROMESKULL then goes after our heroes when Tucker gives him a cheeky love tap to the mush. They jump in the car as CHROMESKULL stands up and watches them leave. Luckily for our slasher, another car turns up straight away, this one containing Cindy's brother. He tells his missus that he saw Tucker in the car with the girl earlier and thinks he's cheating. He gets out to go and look at CHROMESKULL's car, then comes back and catches a knife to the mouth. Look, I know that must really hurt right now, mate, but bright side, it's a pretty metal facial piercing. Oh, sweet heavenly Jesus, he cut his face off! Can't have a facial piercing without a face! The girlfriend tries to get her phone but gets stabbed in the hand, so crawls out of the car and goes to make a run for it. CHROMESKULL then jumps out and tags the girl samurai style. Cut to Tucker and the girl freaking out. They decide to go to the next house, and we cut to this fella, Steven, answering the door. He says he doesn't have a phone, only a computer, so offers to email the sheriff. Steven asks what's going on, and the girl tells him Tucker's wife just died. Steven says he can relate as his mother just passed, with the girl asking if she also got stabbed with a big knife.
Did she get a knife? No, she didn't. Is that a question?
The girl then explains their predicament with the man in the shiny mask, and Steve gets to it. Cut to the girl taking a second in the bathroom as Tucker and Steven fill out an online crime report form. With the emails sent, he starts to research CHROMESKULL's MO, finding reports of his killing spree almost immediately. Steven then asks if CHROMESKULL had a camera.
Something was blinking on his shoulder. 'Cause I don't see nothing. 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 'Cause I don't see no
It's him.
Cut back to the girl in the bathroom where she has a fake jump scare before joining the others. Tucker then convinces Steven to come with them to the sheriff, so they jump in the car. Cut to them arriving at the station and grabbing weapons before heading inside. Oh, it looks like Officer Jeffries hit another kid. Better call the family. Inside, no one seems to be around when suddenly a radio goes off. It's Sheriff Bates, who tells the group he hit CHROMESKULL with his car and his deputy is dead. He says he's locked in a supply closet, and that's when they discover CHROMESKULL dead in a cell. Next, they find the deputy missing his face, so Tucker calls up the sheriff, who repeats the same exact dialogue. Steven checks in the supply closet, finding it empty when the girl leans on the cell door, opening it. I love that shot, probably because it reminds me so much of Scream. I love Scream. CHROMESKULL puts his camera on as our heroes run for their lives, leaving Steven behind. The girl goes back for him, narrowly avoiding death by stabbing CHROMESKULL in the leg. Oh dear, it looks like CHROMESKULL's face just got its period. Cut to the survivors driving as they argue about what to do next. Tucker says they need to head to town even though they have a bit of a gas situation when the girl tells them to pull over. She points out the funeral home as where she's from, and Tucker quite rightly says there isn't a single reason they should go in there and let the killer catch up.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck's sake. Steven doesn't want to go in either on account of his dead mother being inside, so Tucker instead follows the girl while he pulls around back. Inside, Tucker finds the remnants of the girl's first fight with CHROMESKULL, pointing out it looks like she hurt him first. Outside, Steven fiddles with whatever the this is when he hears a woman scream, "I'm not dead." The voice continues to cry out for help, freaking Steven out as we cut to Tucker patching the girl up. The girl starts to accept her fate when Tucker gets up close.
Nobody, I mean nobody else is gonna die here tonight.
Grab her! Cut back to Steven going to pieces about the woman's voice. He goes to reach for the tire iron when suddenly his mother hovers into view.
You're dead. Please don't scare me like that, Mommy, please.
Hey.
Inside, Steven tells the others what he saw, thinking he's losing his mind when we cut to CHROMESKULL grabbing the body and taking it away. How does CHROMESKULL know the significance of the dead body to Steven? Did he just pick a random body and get lucky? Cut to everyone chilling in the funeral home as the girl checks on the grieving Tucker. He mentions he has a pistol back at his place, disappointed he didn't think to pick it up in the madness. The girl tries to reassure him before saying maybe she should have stayed dead.
Maybe I should have stayed dead.
You wasn't dead. All right, so just stop saying that nonsense.
Yeah, that's right!
And it's a coffin or a casket. It ain't no such goddamn thing as a dead box.
You listening?
And dead people don't float around. They're just fucking dead.
Hey, man.
Shut the up, people under the stairs. No one asked you. The girl apologizes and Tucker says they just have to wait until 6 a.m. as that's when his brother-in-law will be arriving at his house. This brother-in-law. Steve points out Tucker isn't at his house and the man says he can't let Cindy's brother find her like that. The girl replies she doesn't want to leave as she thinks this place might help her remember something. Tucker then tells Steven to stay with the girl and walks off to what I assume will be a very painful death. Steven tells the girl to shut the door, but instead she has another suggestion.
I think it's my turn to take something from him.
His mouth virginity by his mouth, taking your box and putting it in his mouth. Cut to Tucker getting back to his place and then to Steven panicking about CHROMESKULL coming to get them. And of course she makes it all about herself.
You don't know what it's like to wake up in that thing. I must have had a mom who loves me.
Back with Tucker, he enters the bedroom, then starts whimpering like a little bitch when he sees that Cindy's body isn't there. Oh, mate, are you sad because a man in a mask came and put a knife into your wife's brain, took her body, and is now most likely balls deep in the new vagina he created in the side of her head? Are you thinking about all the good years you had and how you were going to be together until the end of time, but now, because you tried to do the right thing and help someone in need, the corpse of your forever person is nothing more than some maniac's toy? His drum, his jabbing slag. Is that what you're thinking? Well, get over it! The girl then spots CHROMESKULL about at a nearby building and they decide to go in when we cut back to old Mopey Bollocks over here. He gets himself together, grabs his gun, and we cut back to the girl and Steve spying on the killer. They watch as CHROMESKULL uses some conveniently labelled medical adhesive to stick the mask to his face. He grabs the suitcase when Steve makes a noise alerting CHROMESKULL, who charges towards them. The girl runs into the building and Steve tries to get CHROMESKULL to chase him, but instead the killer heads inside and locks him out. Inside, the girl tries to hide from the killer when she looks down and notices this little number tied to a headless corpse. The woman wakes up and starts screaming for help like a maniac, which of course the killer hears.
Help me! He's coming! Please help me! Help me, please! Please help me! Please! He's coming!
The girl tries to help Shouty McDumb, but isn't able to get her loose before CHROMESKULL reaches them. The girl takes off, hilariously screaming she's going to get help as CHROMESKULL cuts the blonde's head off. And no, before you ask, he doesn't the head. This movie's good, but it's not perfect. He then pops the head down and makes the girl go sleepy time. Cut to Stephen pottering about and calling out for the girl when he hears her screaming. He waves down Tucker and we cut to CHROMESKULL looking over the footage of the blonde girl's head, then switching out the Fairfield tape for his Miami tape. Meaning he names his ladies from the places he takes them from. Much better than the names I give my victims like Fat Tits or Burp or Dad Vag. Her name was Dad Vag because her looked like a little arsehole. I miss primary school. CHROMESKULL first looks at the footage of Mickey Rourke talking to a cop and then to him boxing up the girl. Cut to the girl waking up back in her coffin when the killer cuts a hole in the top and peers through looking at his recaptured prey. Back with Stephen and Tucker as they argue before heading after the girl. Inside, CHROMESKULL starts filming the girl through her hole. Lol. When Tucker breaks in and starts popping off shots seemingly hitting the killer.
Son of a bitch.
The boys bust in and start searching for the girl, finding multiple dead bodies.
Oh my god.
Did Stephen just... Yep, that was a definite shameful orgasm. Hey Stephen, it's perfectly natural. There's no shame in wanting to have... They find her coffin, so Tucker hands Stephen the gun, telling him to reload it as he breaks the girl out. Stephen seems to struggle with this task, and we get a cheeky little bit of tension as he drops the bullet and picks it up, which leads to nothing.
Hey.
Tucker saves the girl when we cut to them pulling up at Stephen's house. Stephen finds a phone, but unfortunately it's locked, so they all sit there for a bit and try and guess the code. Cut to CHROMESKULL getting out of his hiding place and then back to Stephen as he reads a message from the police basically telling him to call 911. We see CHROMESKULL remove the bullet and sew himself up as the group decide what to do next. Stephen suggests they go to a gun store, I think. I couldn't really work out what he was saying.
The smartest thing for us to do is go to Moreland's. We could stock up on bullets, we could use the phone and finally get some 5-0 on the way.
Morelands? I don't know. Answers in the comments. He says he's going to check the trunk for more weapons, heads round there and discovers his mother's corpse. Tucker joins him in his sad music as the girl watches footage from CHROMESKULL's video camera.
I told you, folks are starting to complain about the stink.
Mickey Rourke complaining to his doctor about his potent penis smell. Cut to Stephen being a about his dead mum, and then back to the girl as it's made clear Chromeface was paying Mickey Rourke to store the dead bodies in the barn. He says he's bringing an end to their arrangement and walks away as the killer picks up a rod, leading right up to the moment Mickey realized he f***ed up. Why are you hitting it? It said battery low for ages. Hitting batteries doesn't make them work again, mate. Have you forgotten? The girl asks how long until they go to the market, and Tucker drops the news that ain't happening. Instead, they're gonna hide out here until morning when his brother-in-law, who may I remind you, doesn't have a face anymore, arrives as he has one of those cell phones where you don't need a code to call. How many times in one movie are these gonna have the opportunity to get right out of Dodge? No, Tucker, you limpy we're not staying here now. Get in the car! The fellas take away Steve's mum as the girl gets in the driver's seat and fires up the GPS. Ah, it was Moreland's. So is that a real store? What kind of jerky do they sell? Tucker looks out the window as the girl drives off and we cut to her en route. Cut to the fellas walking to the funeral home to get Steve's car and then to CHROMESKULL starting up another car. We see CHROMESKULL is able to track the car the girl's in because it's his, so he syncs up his sat-nav and they're on their way. Cut to these two idiots. They almost hit Steven and Tucker and continue driving as the girl arrives at the market. Unfortunately, CHROMESKULL was remotely locked the door, so she honks the horn but isn't able to get the clerk's attention. The idiots then turn up, and when the girl tries to get their attention, they react in exactly the way you'd expect.
Hey, come here.
Sexy bitches are my favorite kind of bitches.
If any of you were curious about the level of skill I had back when I used to be a rapper, that's about it. Just as irritating. Just as many friends. Cut to Tucker and Steven get into his car and then back to the girl as she reaches for the killer's camera. The phone then receives a text that reads, "Hello Miami." Well, the girl manages to kick CHROMESKULL's face off, which he sticks back on. He then takes his seat in the car before attacking the girl once again. She sticks her thumb in his up eye, but CHROMESKULL doesn't even flinch. And this leads to another shot I really like. Inside the store, they hear the car horn going off and the idiots chat for a bit about going to a rave. Back to the car as CHROMESKULL realizes his tape is full. He instructs the girl to go in and get him a tape, threatening even more innocent lives if she up. Cut to Tucker and Steve en route to the store and then to the girl going inside. The boys go to the counter, but the clerk refuses to sell them beer as it's against the law on a Sunday. As they argue, the girl gets an impatient text and finally moves forward asking for a tape. The clerk makes small talk and the girl hands over the money when he notices a text from the killer. This angers the law-abiding and respectful clerk, who grabs his gun and goes outside to fight this cruel monster in his lady's honor. Then, when the dust is settled and the cops have taken away this criminal, the lady might like to take a directly into my mouth while I damn near rip my own off. Never mind. Cut to Tucker and Steven arriving and Idiot 2 running off to see if there's any other ways in. There is. Yeah. Idiot 1 calls out for Idiot 2 when Tucker and Steven start banging on the door. They let him in and Idiot 1 goes to check on Idiot 2, finding only a load of blood. He then lets the others know, also showing them a bloody videotape wrapper. Tucker says staying here and defending themselves is their best chance, and Steven runs outside to swipe CHROMESKULL's case. While Tucker and Idiot 1 search for weapons, the girl notices Steven having a look inside. He replaces CHROMESKULL's mask glue with some super strength glue that burns skin and is something you definitely do not want on your face. The girl then spots this bat as Idiot 1 fails to see Idiot 2's head in the fridge. Suddenly the lights go out and the phone gets a text, which Steven goes to check before being jumped by CHROMESKULL, who shoves the tire sealant into his ear.
No!
Aw, I liked him. His friends sort of stand there and just watch as Idiot 1 goes to get the car and Tucker exhibits some of the worst close range aim I've ever seen. Tucker tells the girl to go with the idiot, but for some reason she acts like this is her father, all crying and sliding down the wall. Hey, either help or run away, you whingy Tucker, of course, quickly catches a knife to the chest and CHROMESKULL locks Idiot Boy out, then goes after the girl, who tries to find safety in the fridge. The killer goes after her but quickly gives up, after which the girl tells him she knows who he is and what his name is.
I know who you are! I know your name!
Never comes up again. The girl gets a message asking who she is when the killer hands her the camera and in turn gives her her origin. It seems the girl was a sex worker with absolutely fantastic tits.
Now, I know you only paid for a but don't you want a little bit more? Have you ever had a Swedish?
What the actual This chick is packing those baby suffocators and you decide to only show me now movie. How dare you! Every bit of goodwill built up until this point is now worthless for you wasting those wonderful willy wobblers. Daddy needs his feed! Daddy needs his feed! Anyway, CHROMESKULL knocks her out and the girl finally understands the truth. Upon realizing she trades vag for cash, she screams at the killer, telling him to come and get her as she doesn't care anymore.
I give up! I don't care anymore! Come and get me!
Which doesn't really send the right message, does it? Oh, I'm a professional dump. Guess I might as well die. Hey, newsflash, sex work is work. Unless it's your mum doing it, then it's more of a hobby. Watching your mum try and sell that gargantuan gash is like watching a dog try to skateboard. It's never gonna win the X Games, but it's cute it's trying to be people. CHROMESKULL then attacks, for some reason forgetting he can open the fridge door, and the girl knocks his mask off. The killer then applies the glue Steven switched out earlier, and he was right. It's a bit Bernie. The girl gets out of the fridge, and look at those rock-solid nips. I'm really sorry the tit stuff came around so late in this one, you lot. I'll try to make it up to you next week. And checks out CHROMESKULL's fizzy new look. Not satisfied that her attacker is f***ed up beyond all recognition, she reaches up for the bat and gives CHROMESKULL a proper send-off, bashing his brains right the f*** in. She then goes to check on Tucker, who has a vision of Cindy before dying. Inside her pocket, the girl finds her own missing persons poster, which still doesn't disclose her name, thankfully. She leaves as the sun rises and gets in the car with the waiting idiot one. She asks him where they're going, and the boy says Atlanta. She asks if it's nice, and he says he thinks so. They then drive off just as the cops arrive, and we cut to black. The end! Well, that movie rocked! Where the f*** is my franchise? Later Rest is a very fun and well-made little slasher movie that introduces us to a killer with an immediately iconic look, but the character depth of a puddle on the surface of the sun. The more I think about it, the more I feel like this is the horror movie equivalent of a Happy Meal. A lot of fun while it's on, but when it's gone, there's little to no lasting impact. The story is simple enough, with one girl who has amnesia being pursued by a masked killer. And that's all Later Rest is for the duration of this first movie. You could say one drawback to the story is the fact that we never get to find out literally anything about the killer, and while I agree I'd like to know more about his motives, it'd be awful to get a sequel that tells us both too much and not enough, introducing awfully written, badly acted side characters in another story that in the end also goes nowhere. This slasher movie's story is about as bare bones as you can get. In terms of the characters, we get a small but fine cast here. Tucker plays the sympathetic and protective father figure well, Steven is the nerdy sort of comic relief, and while the killer is a bit of a blank slate, he's menacing and violent enough to be memorable. The biggest letdown in terms of the characters is unfortunately our would-be final girl. The girl. She's just a useless crying mess throughout, who really only becomes the final girl in the very last moments of the film. And that whole I know who you are thing coming to nothing was super annoying. Not to mention the fact that they hide her tits throughout the entire movie. Onto the gore, and good lord, they kill it here. Obviously the brother's face removal is great, we get a couple of messy throat openings, and Cindy's death was absolutely brutal. It's no surprise that director Robert Hall's background was in special effects, and while the film does lack in a few places, the violence is not one of them. Also, while writing this, I just found out that Robert Hall actually died in 2021, which is sad times. Presentation-wise, again, the film is fine. It's about as run-of-the-mill TV movie as you can get. There really isn't any flair or creativity going on in this department, and for what really is just a vehicle for gore effects, that's perfectly fine. All in all, Later Rest is a bloody good time at the movies. It won't be winning any Oscars, of course, but the brutality of the kills and the aesthetic of the killer are enough to make this one of the better entries in the slasher canon. There are things I could have used more of, like a proper ending fight or the girl wearing a low-cut top the entire time, but other than that, as long as you're in it for the violence, you're gonna love what CHROMESKULL has to offer. So that was my review for Later Rest. What do you lot think? I really enjoyed this one, and watching it, I just couldn't understand how we don't have like a million more. Then I watched part 2, and yeah, we'll get to that one day. And the kills, holy shit, man. My favorite has to be the brother getting his face carved right the f off his head. Speaking of which, if you want to see Lena Headey's head get a vagina installed completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. You know the drill, it's $2 a month, so if you want to see the uncut videos, go over there. You can pledge more if you like, or don't, whatever. I'm not your dad, no matter what your mum says. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment, and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and I love Lena Headey. I bet she'd get me in the boudoir and be all like, yes, Jonjo, I'm your mummy now. Now do as I say. You've been a very, very bad boy. You've disappointed mummy, haven't you? Again and again. You pathetic little piece of shit. I should have aborted you when I had the chance. I knew you were evil. I could feel it inside me before you were born. Now look at you. Look at you. Is this what you want? Is it? I'll do it. I'll do it, I swear. Nick? what you've done. Look what you've done. It's okay, baby. It's okay. Mummy loves you. Mummy loves you and she's going to take care of you, okay? Come here. Come here to Mummy. Come to Mummy. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be super hot. Ooh.